Tonight's episode of Organically Blunt, we're talking with AC Moon, an inventor, entrepreneur, and visionary who had a vision on how to protect your plants from the rain during the most crucial outdoor growing seasons. We're going to dive into how she invented the CropTops greenhouse and more. Won't you stay organically blunt? Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Organically Blunt. I am Jay Blaze, your host, and this evening I have the pleasure and the opportunity to speak with an entrepreneur, an author, a grower, an advocate, and much more. Welcome to the Organically Blunt Show, AC Moon.
Thanks for having me. How you doing today?
Definitely, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. It's raining here deep in the Emerald Triangle, so we're just out here in the greenhouse, just waiting for the sun to come out.
Definitely. I got a friend that's at Disney out there. She's from Michigan here, and she's out there visiting her parents, and she said it's been raining all day, so.
Yeah, it's definitely been a little bit muggy, but everything needs water, so the more water we can get, the better.
Definitely. So I want to dive right into things, because the reason you caught my attention after a little bit of back and forth here, I am a little bit of a hard head, so I apologize.
No, don't apologize. We need to be hard heads in this industry. Be critical, be skeptical. That's the way we need to be.
Definitely. So, I'm an outdoor grower. I've been an outdoor grower since roughly 2009 myself. And I started out by helping my grandfather with his cancer and stuff like that and coming up with different butters. And then it just kind of became, I needed it for medical use. But as an outdoor grower, I want to dive into this product that you developed and the story behind it and every juicy detail along the way. So without further ado, I would like to know not only a little bit of you introducing yourself, but I would like to know how you came up with the CropTops greenhouse.
Excellent. Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity to showcase my product and kind of interact with your society wherever you are based. Myself, I've been in cannabis for almost 26 years now. Went to school for horticulture. I'm a second generation farmer. And so I started my first company in 2001, Harvest Moon Munchie Company, when I also was helping my mother with cancer, my father, and all of the rest of my family also passed away from cancer. So again, I understand your position and what spurs that advocacy of us, really seeking out plant medicine. And I really, I really got into the game really heavily and started dispensaries throughout California, starting in San Francisco and in 2005, and then working pretty much the entire state, up until this day. So I have 40 acres in the Sierra Nevadas, and I work out of Humboldt here as well as Kennedy County. And I work in the down in the Virgin Islands currently. I own Indica Innovations International, where I am a certified educator, and I help business entrepreneurs worldwide, gain traction. I help politicians with advocacy and just kind of get a linear understanding. And so I first, started my passion in the garden really early in life, being from off grid. We were really always about homesteading and doing things, craft from the ground up. And so after many years of having huge greenhouses just stuffed full of depths and all these storms and snows and stuff coming on, I ended up having all these different plants end up outside, for the long term. And the long terms weren't getting covered like the depths and the greenhouse growth was. And I was out in the storms one night and we were really battling it. We were soaking wet and drenched. And I just saved myself one more wetting. I had one of those, clear umbrellas that you would use in like New York or something to get to your taxi cab. And I was like, I need this for my plants. And like, my plants need this more than I do. Like, oh my gosh. And so I started my journey to inventing probably about 2010. And after enduring some federal raids that ended up indicting my partners and getting me to leave the country. But yeah, that's where it all began, is out in our farms, and my farm is still going, but it's in a medical sense, not in a recreational sense currently because of taxation. But I
Hey,
really love it.
that, that's definitely impressive, you know, and being a female entrepreneur in this industry, on top of just being an entrepreneur, it really does put the cherry on the cake. Because when I say that, you had to have dealt with a lot of issues along the way, you know.
That's an
And
understatement. That's for sure.
yeah, and the biggest one that I want to dive into is you got your product patented. How hard was that process in this type of industry?
Oh, well, it is extremely hard. When I first started inventing and patenting in 2010, it took me 6 years of arguing with the entire concept. It's taken me many years of getting things to go. I wanted to address this real quick because it just distracted me. I see Blazin 7420 says rare breed Humboldt ripped me off for 180 bucks. I recommend not doing business with him. Well, I
Oh
want to
no.
just let you know that whatever is going on with that, he's definitely a close partner of mine, and whatever misunderstanding happened, nobody is definitely ever intending to rip someone off. And so you're more than welcome to contact me at any time through IG or anything, and I can guide you towards talking to the representatives further with Rare Breed to make sure that you're compensated for whatever you feel that you need. So I just wanted to address that before I
Sure,
continued on with the
sure.
question, and
No
never want to
problem.
see like the negativities on going on that. But yeah, I
Right.
know there's always problems in business, and as a consultant, I always like to make sure everyone's happy and taken care of well. And as entrepreneurs, we're constantly dealing with too much and trying to learn so much at once, and then trying to integrate, and then also working in very remote areas. It's a giant challenge for a lot of us that are farmers working in the real business world. So it's just crazy. But let's go back to your question. Can you repeat it again for me, honey?
Yeah, definitely. You know, the question, we got a little sidetracked, and that happens sometimes. But the
No
question,
problem. There's no sidetrack from the combo. We can get it all under control.
right, exactly. And the question was simply, how hard was it in this type of industry to get a patent for a product? I mean,
Absolutely. I would say that now, as I started the association with the friend Carmen Diasco, to actually go ahead and overview cannabis patents now so that we can have an association that is able to better help patent examiners identify what is needed for IP, because many of us had to patent things, as like a tobacco product or a lavender extraction or
oh,
something that's alternative, because you can't go into that aspect with really, you know, because it's federally legal. So you can get a federal patent on something. So they've made diverse patents, or like with trademarks, we would trademark something that isn't like the product. And to this day, we can't trademark without that product. So yeah, it was 6 years to get my first patent, but with 21 micro patents underneath it, because every time the patent examiner comes to you and starts to negate one of your claims, meaning that I claim this and this is my invention that is solely my creation, and this is what the uses are of it. And so every step of the way, every aspect of the patent, from the locking nut to the Velcro venting and stuff, each one of those aspects has to be individually covered. And so that's years of arguing with patent examiners, going through everything, letting the examiners go through the data banks of over 10 million patents. Because I have 10 million something, 400 something is my patent number. And then trying
wow.
to quantify it to see if anything ever has been created like that before. And so if nothing has ever been created like that before, then you get granted a patent. And at times, that's why I became a consultant, because I learned how to go through the process a lot cheaper after doing it for over a half a decade. I learned how to not just, have $100,000 bill to have a patent lawyer just run you through the hoops. When in all actuality, it's just about your eloquency of being able to, break down your own ideas and convey them in a way that is both utilitarian and mechanical and very obvious and blunt. At times, even boring, possibly. And so there's ways to cheapen everything now, but cannabis in specifically, I actually had to prove that it wasn't just for cannabis, and so CropTops is patented as an agricultural use product so that it doesn't get pigeonholed. I've had avocado growers and citrus growers also use it to acclimate their product, and adapt to the different cultivars, or do pest management, fogging, things like that, and viniculture, and a couple of other different industries that were using it for diverse ways, such as fogging and pest management, like I was saying. And again, now we're using it a lot for breeding chambers and actually being able to do a small, diverse research project in breeding chambers, pretty much like anywhere you want to, and just really getting as creative as possible.
That is impressive right there, definitely. And
Thanks.
that leads me to my next question, which is simple. You mentioned the Velcro vents and stuff like that. What are some of the unique features to your product?
Well, CropTops greenhouse is a parabolic shape. It's about 8 feet in circumference, and it starts at ground level, so you can literally have a dome right on the ground. I should have brought one with me. I didn't even think about it.
Wow.
And when you put that out, it has a stainless steel ground spike that makes sure that you're not going to cause any rust into your soil or anything like that. And in at that point, you put in a telescoping pole. So this telescoping pole allows you to have that, center point grow with the plant instead of just a piece of bamboo that may cause rot or get algae or mold or different things like that. That stainless steel will just grow with the plant, and you click it up as you do so. So it makes it so that anytime during the year, if you need to just, you got an gnarly storm covering, you just can just pop the parabolic shape onto that telescoping pole and have instant coverage. And if it's a real gnarly storm or the temperatures drop or you're using it for fogging or other things that we discussed, such as breeding, then you would put that skirt on there, do the wind tie downs that have those anchor points, and all of the snapping points, secure it to the ground, and then make yourself just an instant chamber, either in quarantine, isolation, tissue culture. Many different research projects have been done in them for sure. But it's got a
Man,
carrying case and is 9.8 pounds, and polywoven plastics that are proper greenhouse plastics, such as the greenhouse I'm in right now. A lot of people like to use the U line or pressed plastics, which are, cause a lot of BPA, and they're also really toxic for the environment and break down quite easier. The polywovens that we use now, they last over 20 years. So they're a really long winded product.
wow. Man, that's impressive. I love the research you put into the whole package. There's so many great entrepreneurs that I've met just doing this show, and the detail people put into their product blows my mind. It's like if I was to invent something, I would hope I would be that detailed, because really it is great. Like I'm thinking and I'm reading the comments chat here, and I don't think I'm ignoring you guys. But definitely, like you guys say in Washington in the chat and other places, we need it. We need it here in Michigan. I have to grow fast genetics outdoors because my October is always rainy and windy. And I always end up with bud rot, and I hate dealing with it, or PM or other issues. And when I seen the product, I was like, where has this been my whole life? Like, I've missed it. Like, and to come across it, I'm definitely want to get a few of my own here in the near future because
I would
I
be
run.
happy to send you some to try. That'd be so great to see my product in your hands. I love seeing people like get diverse and useful with it. I've seen some hippies even take showers in it, which is quite entertaining. And my son worked on motorcycles and gas tanks and stuff on it. Like it's used for all sorts of stuff when you're off season, so it could be a lot of fun.
Definitely. And I've seen, like I shared in the intro, picture you just recently put on your Instagram of you and I'm sure a couple friends sitting
Yeah.
inside one. And I'm like, man, like this thing is awesome. Like, because we could take it to Lake Michigan here, go
Oh yeah.
sit on the beach in the rain and still enjoy the heat of the summer. And it'd be great. Yeah. I mean, not to be weird, but it was really
No,
cool.
it's a great chamber for hanging out and recreation. And on our 420, all of us that had booths and stuff, we were definitely had a second to just have a good smoke session in it. So that was the picture you shared. Thanks for sharing that.
Definitely. So, how do you market this? And the reason I ask this is this more marketed towards your small scale and sustainable growers, or do you kind of market it more towards the commercial grower?
It's pretty much everyone. I actually personally am biased towards using it in research or school or doing the more craft products. But in all actuality, I turned down large deals, that were Monsanto based many years ago because I was fearful of, kind of getting in bed with those that I felt were not in the best interest of my community, my society, or my earth. And so I probably, as a businesswoman at that time, probably screwed myself pretty hard because if I was smart, I would have taken the money and used it to fight him. But hindsight's 2020, and I went on to try to hold my head with pride, saying, I'm going to continue doing this as an individual capitalist. I grew my own products. I had my dispensary, made a lot of edibles, I took care of a lot of patients, and doing all that off grid. It was really in my interest to utilize my land to be able to be, inventive or creative. And it gave me a really large pathway that I didn't expect actually into a whole new world of learning intellectual property for genetics and learning how to apply intellectual property in many different ways that I wouldn't have even thought that that would have happened for me just beginning to invent a portable greenhouse. So it definitely allowed me to do a lot of outside the box thinking. And I wish that I had the funding to continue reinventing and re-innovating. But as we all know, a lot of the economy is difficult right now, and working in tariffs and spaces where you may need to manufacture products out of the country is out of the question right now for entrepreneurs. So it gets a little hairy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it gets a little hairy.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a prime example of that just trying to buy new camera equipment. I'm like looking at the prices 3 months ago and I'm looking at it recently and it's gone up $300 for the camera I want. And it's like, what's the cost? What's the
Yeah,
reason? And then I'm like,
absolutely.
oh yeah, it's got to be the tariffs. I'm like, it's got to be, because there's no other justified reason why it would increase $300. So like,
Well,
yeah,
also there's a lot of corruption going on in the actual like fine minerals, the precious minerals that are in a lot of electronics nowadays are being coveted in several different countries that are part of the trade war that's going on, and they've definitely publicized that they're making it harder to obtain those precious minerals that may be used in creating these commerce cycles because they really want to keep I think that manufacturing power in their hands while the torch is passed while we even out this economy of the world and really their plan is to make sure America is no longer the top tier but kind of a little bit more level playing field. So it's scary, but I think
definitely.
that it's probably fair in a worldwide way of thinking for us to finally get a little bit humbled out of the Oreos and Coca-Cola that we consume too much of.
Yeah, definitely. And a good question here. They want to know how much is it for one of these units, and do you offer bulk discounts for when they order in bulk? Obviously.
Absolutely. It's buy five, get one free for those that have the 6 plant count for their home growth. Um, and to answer your question earlier, I didn't eloquently answer that, and I apologize. In commercial use, it's normally bought as a fogging chamber, a sterilization chamber, or a quarantine, where you would make sure your plants are well controlled and taken care of before entering into the larger greenhouses. And then the medicinal side, it is for, obviously bought more for home grow. So it has
Absolutely.
uses on both sides. You have to excuse me.
Definitely. I just helped put up a greenhouse like you're sitting in, just
Oh,
two
nice.
weeks ago. Oh, it was not fun. We started to put the rough plastic on, and my friend at Country Roots Soil and Amendments here in
Yeah.
Michigan, and he's going to put his worm castings inside one, and his worm bins and stuff. Yep. But he's going to have a whole bunch of stuff. It was like a 40 by 90, and the wind grabbed a hold of it just as we were getting it across at the last
Oh,
rung.
that gives you
Yeah,
challenge.
and it was like a
Dog
balloon.
fight.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh no, and then he got upset, because we did get a rip in it, and we're all new to it, and he's like, I wonder if they make patches that are greenhouse patches, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
they do.
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, we haven't inflated it yet, but we got it double layered now, and we got it about 4 foot from the ground because we didn't do the full walls yet. Because, like he said, he's going to be dealing with a lot of heat, so we're going to he's going to kind of leave it screen. He's going to put screen up instead for now, and
Absolutely. I'll tell you a really funny story real quick, which I don't normally share on different podcasts, but I do. But I'll tell you what, I used to have, these huge crews, sometimes 9 to 20 people, running my depths and greenhouses. And this is the early 2000s, like 2001 to 2005, kind of in there. Running depths really hard. These huge, just packed full of my goo. I'm a goo girl, and I kept one genetic of the goo alive, mutating it and adapting it for 19 years. So it became really a quick flipper. I was able to manipulate it very quickly, and I still covet that strain to this day. Um, but we went out and I had this 100-foot greenhouse right by my spot at the top of the hill, and it started storming gnarly, and all of us were over in one of these trailers, that was set up for trimming and stuff. We're all kicking it, smoking weed or whatever. I'm the only girl, mind you, I'm the only girl. And so I go up into the house, go have a shower. I got my bathrobe tied around me. It's one of them fleece bathrobes you see ladies wearing all the time. And, I've got, I'm just ready to go to bed. I'm exhausted. So I see these storm cracking, the lightning starts cracking, wind starts gnarly going. And I go out there and the end of the greenhouse starts ripping off, and all of these huge plants that were fully like 2 weeks away from harvest, like so perfect. We're just getting beaten death in this entire greenhouse situation. And I started just screaming at everybody to get out of the house, get out of the trailer, go grab the corners of the plastic and the skin and start getting it back down onto the frame because it's flying like 20 feet up in the air, just beating everything to death. And so I run to the corner thinking that I'm all slick, and I grab the plastic, and it flips me up into the air about 10 feet. And I got no chonies on, mind you, and I'm the leader of this whole crew. So I'm out there with no chonies, just out there flying on the end of the plastic, like flipping, like refusing to give up, get to the ground, get my legs around the pole, and then get the purlins, and I just sit there hugging it, totally butt naked in the rain. And that's how desperate I was to start, save my plants back then. So all I could do is start inventing greenhouses because your greenhouses will always be a pain in the butt. Your cold frames, it's always wind or a rip or tear. It's always hard. So I can't wait to have the glass and polycarbonate and a nice,
right,
beautiful like firmed building. That'll be awesome.
definitely, yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, he's got some cool ideas he's going to do with his. He's trying some different things out, and he's a registered geologist, so he's doing a lot of soil projects in there, and it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be. I'm going to learn a lot because I don't own land right now. I had land until my grandfather passed, and I never thought I'd be in a position where I'd have to purchase land. I figured it would be willed to me, but that didn't
Right.
happen. And
Yeah. I'm sorry.
hey, stuff happens. COVID was not good to me. I lost a lot of people from it, and
Sorry about
you
that.
know, we transpire, we move forward. We can't give up, and that's what I always say. You know, you can't give up because you're only failing yourself if you fail yourself. I mean, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I'm not going to let that happen. And you know, so when I buy my land, when I get to that position, I want a tiny house off grid. So we got a lot of similarities. And I want a greenhouse. And I do need a pole barn, but I do need power in there because I'm a mechanic car guy. And I will have a lift in there and do all my own auto repairs and tractor repairs and everything like that. I'm not going to have anybody else doing that. So that's about all I need on my land. And I want to learn greenhouses because I want to be able to grow year round and as much as possible. And Michigan doesn't allow that. As you know, we get a lot of snow here, and I got to have an option. So that's going to be my option. And I want to be sustainable. I have an autoimmune disease. So I'm
Oh,
looking to grow organically year round for myself. And he's
I-
teaching me so much, you know.
Good choice. Organic is always the best, especially for autoimmune. You know, a lot of different things that can cause triggers. My mom passed away from cancer and also lupus. And
Oh,
there's a lot of
wow.
autoimmune that kind of circulate, you know, the family and people around me. And I think it's becoming a lot more problematic, honestly, from pesticides and the overuse of different antibiotics and big pharma, how it's ingested into our food and water supplies pretty continuously. So I think it actually is triggering a lot more autoimmune diseases because of the fact that a lot of the things we consume are actually toxic. So our body is constantly in a repair mode because of those toxins. So it exhausts us into a point where we have those cellular triggers of autoimmune and cancer and all those things. So I hope that you have a wonderful time into your journey of growing there in Michigan. I know it's a challenge.
Oh,
It's crazy
yes,
as crap over there.
definitely. It's what?
It's so cold over there in Michigan, really. I
Oh,
let you have experience growing in igloos, but it is damn cold in Michigan.
it's cold right now. I mean, 2 days ago we hit 80 degrees for the first time in 2025.
Oh,
Crazy, I know. Yes, and then today it was a high of 62. Tomorrow it's going to be 58, and then
mhm.
Monday it'll be 75 again, and it's like freezing. And we got like, well, tonight and tomorrow night we got high wind warning. Well, tonight we have a frost warning from 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. and a first frost warning of the spring season, I guess you'd call it. And
Uh-huh.
then we have a wind warning for tomorrow night of 70-mile-an-hour winds. And that's just Michigan. We have all four seasons in 1 week. I mean, it's just how it
Well, it's
works.
been really cold here in Humboldt. I'll tell you what, it's been feeling like more snow is on the way, but it's kind of on that edge of where it's just a really cold rainstorm, thank goodness. But if it
Definitely.
wasn't for greenhouses, I think that the plants wouldn't be as happy. I got one set up on the deck just to make sure they don't get too waterlogged because the
Right.
moisture is real.
I've got all my babies popped, and they're in. I set them out indoors, and I got them all popped, and actually literally on the other side of that wall behind me,
Oh
and
no,
they're all ready to go, and they're all sprouted. I had a pretty good germination percent rate this time. I'd say roughly 90%. You know,
that's
I had a couple that weren't happy with me, and I'm waiting for the seeds to get resent to me from the breeders because they didn't work out. And I don't know if I got a bad couple of them, but it happens. And I only grow 24 here in Michigan. That's what I'm allowed under the medical license that I have from
that's
myself.
fantastic. That's Proposition 215 days for us in California. I miss those days. I do. We're only allowed to have six apiece here in California, and down in the Virgin Islands also just six apiece. And so
Wow.
the I miss
Yeah,
that.
that it leads me to my next question. In Virgin Islands, you've been in a lot of different international areas and did cultivation. What have some of the challenges in the different areas been that you've had to face, especially like the Virgin Islands?
Well, the Virgin Islands was actually the first American Caribbean and only American Caribbean job I've done. Most of the Caribbean jobs I've done are actually in the UK territory, such as St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Curacao, and such like that. So those are British-owned territories. But the American U.S. Virgin Islands, I've been working for about 2 years with the university to build the first cannabis commerce courses, as well as help several different entrepreneurs start to build their businesses as we got the first recreational laws passed um, January 18th, 2023. And so I moved down there to, attempt to help. So it's been an amazing time, but unfortunately, as we began to get ready to launch into university, I can't say too much publicly, but due to policy changes and fears, and the way that administrations are threatening the funding of university level education, it has caused a lot of universities to start pulling back out of their cannabis studies programs and really taking a lot of fear on reprimand. Same as similar as even Harvard, of where they're fighting for the rights to have free education. So that's kind of been a stumbling point. It's also, difficult when you're working in an area that should have a lot of respect for the sacramental rights of cannabis use for the Rastafari, who are the last of the indigenous, besides the Taino tribe, which are, I believe, they're only about 12 to 30 members, a very small demographic. But with them finally having the rights, I think that it's difficult to navigate the, how do I say this? I need to say this very politically correct, is that the white people that have whitewashed the area from the world, not just America, and actually many different races, all shades of colors, have come to the Caribbean to believe that there is like this fight. They're like, all right, there's just gonna be a lot of salsa dancing, and we're gonna and it's actually these people are working their asses off with very low, 5, 10, very low wages. They have very little opportunity. They're stuck on 32 square, you know, mile block their entire life. They have barely any access to education or resources. Um, and I think that becomes a challenge because all they see is these yacht owning people. And like everybody comes to the Caribbean to flout their money and to use it as a tax saving in order to work in that. And it's been a real litigation of seeing how much risk mitigation has to happen in those types of areas of tax havens in the Caribbean so that the cannabis industry isn't ran too hard by oligarchies or possibly, some sort of corrupted entity that may be able to pay to play platform or monopolize the industry in some way. So it's definitely it's challenging. You also have to understand that the Virgin Islands is where most recently is known for the Epstein Island scandal. And so
Oh, I didn't know that.
one of the islands is Epstein Island. And so there was a huge amount of corruption in the government and throughout those times, including JP Morgan, which is one of the largest banking entities that were caught up in the corruption that surrounded the Epstein Island scandal. And so repairing that image and then also repairing the trauma to the people when I don't want to be reverse racist or anything, but a lot of the white money has really traumatized the area. And so coming to work in those areas, I really have to be there in the soil with the people and let them know I'm a farmer. I'm from off grid. I believe in preserving their legacy and their culture, and that I don't want to see everyone whitewashed into this one way of sterilized indoor or one way of sterilized anything. Like we have to have respect for each culture and each endemic society for what it is, not for what we want to create it to be, and have that mutual respect. And so I think that those are probably some of the most challenging points. It is extremely interesting to be a white woman that work in some of those areas. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity at times to really get to know some places that not a lot of people I think would ever get a chance to see in their lifetime. So I definitely am grateful for all that all the time. I am appreciative.
Absolutely. Man, I'm jealous because you don't have to deal with snow. Like, I've dealt with snow my whole life and I'm still trying to escape it. Like,
I don't know. I got 40 acres on the bottom of Donner's Summit, and I couldn't get there all last month because there is 2 feet of snow on my property. So right now,
oh,
we've had here in Humboldt, we've had snow, for the last couple of months as well. And so I've been back from the Virgin Islands, I think, for about 4 months this time. And so I get to have, you know, half of one and half of the other. But, I'm definitely blessed to get to go to warmer weather sometimes.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I would love, man, that would be awesome. I've only been to one island my whole, well, two. We have an island, we have a few in Michigan. People don't know that.
In the
But we
lake.
have one, yeah, we have one called Mackinac Island that is the biggest, and it's a big tourist thing. And no, it's kind of like the Virgin Islands a little bit, kind of. Now, when I say that, I mean the way they kind of think of things. There's no gasoline powered vehicles there at all. It's all horse and buggy,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what's cool. And then I've been to Paris Island, South Carolina, to the Marines base for Marine graduation, and but other than that, I've never been on an island. Like when I went to South Carolina, didn't know what was wrong because I in Lake Michigan we don't have high tide and low tide. Well, I get down there, and in the morning, all the boats are in the water when we go to the base. Well, we go to leave in the evening, and all the boats are up in these docks. They're like dry docks, and there's no water under there. It's all sand, and I'm like, where'd the water go? And they're laughing at me. They're like, you don't have that in Michigan? No, we don't have that here.
Oh yeah, that could be crazy to not have any of the docks and stuff. I can't even imagine going out and just all of a sudden the water is all gone. I don't know that I would be able to deal with that. We have tons of
Right.
water in California too, just like in Michigan. We're blessed with the water.
Yep, exactly. So, what advice would you give to growers that are looking to be more sustainable, being that you've been off grid so long?
Oh, there's so many ways to answer that. Which way are we looking to be sustainable? And are we looking at cost effectiveness or environmental, you know, sustainability?
Yep.
And which way do you mean sustainable?
I guess really you can take your pick. We're just looking for some information for new growers in general. So whatever you would like to put into that ball of wax, you're more than welcome. You have the floor on it.
Well, I see lots of people talking about my partner there, with breed and the cats, and so I would say that after working myself with genetics for over 12 years, there's um, 19 years. I don't know why I said 12. It's really important to choose your genetics properly for the process that you have the resources for. If you have just a closet grow, that's going to be one type that's going to work for you. If you're in Michigan or in Carolina or Texas or wherever, each climate, environment, and situation dictates um, a choice of your genetics. Sometimes it's really easy for us to want to feel like, no, wedding cake is good, so I want to grow wedding cake. But we have to look at it and go, like, is there kind of an alternative that might suit you that isn't so, kind of have a risk factor in it that you may have problems with it because it doesn't match up with your environment? Some cultivars can't handle the cold and lots of wet. They mold out in certain climates, while other cultivars may not be able to handle the drought or high iron water or other things. So really looking at your situation, overviewing it rationally, looking at, okay, this is the water source that I have. This is the soil source that I have. Am I going to be an indoor grower, outdoor grower, a greenhouse grower, or am I going to be a CropTops grower? I mean, you could grow in the back of a '54 Chevy for as fuck as the plant cares, as long as you figure out what fits for it there. And then you kind of just play with it and you tool around your resources to see how you can adapt to the environment that you have available. And I think that just starting with the correct genetics and paying attention to what's around you. Create a little, kind of diary that says, here's my light map. This is where my light is available. If I have too many trees or I'm in a rental, or okay, this is what my closet looks like. Create that image of what you want it to be, and then start researching on the internet and seeing all the different things and innovations that you can adapt to it. And it ends up being a lot of fun when you're a home grower. I don't think I've ever been just a hobby grower, but I would love to be at some time. It sounds like a lot of fun to go back to being able to, not thinking about the thousands, but just really giving a lot of love to, the 5 or 6 that makes some amazing medicine that can truly heal the world and yourself. So
Definitely. And man, if you can ever make it up here to Michigan, especially in June, you got to come out to our Michigan Gyms and Genetics Festival. I
oh
mean, it's going to be huge. And this year we got Mindo Dope. We got a bunch
yes,
of educational speakers. Queen of the Sun Grown is going to be out there. High Again's coming. McCannabis Luke is going to be out there. So many good people out there.
all
Now I've
happy
been,
to hit them up and join the crowd.
yep, yep. And I'm telling you, you'd love it because it is definitely that what you're looking for and the type of feeling you want. Here, these people are so passionate. It is amazing. It truly is. I mean, and a lot of these guys in the society that I created not too long ago, the Organic Growers Society, it's a small club that we have. Anybody can get involved, by the way, and I'm not just trying to do self promotion here. It's only $5 a month. I mean, I'm
I,
sure you guys can afford that.
yeah,
And
that's great.
yep, and that gets you all access to the Discord and all the info we share and any educational stuff we are planning with different people in different sectors. And it also all the giveaways. We moved all our giveaways over to there, kind of just to give back to a community that actually supports the show. And anybody's welcome. Anybody's welcome over there. And same thing with these events is a lot of these guys have said, wow, Michigan truly does have some amazing events. And I think we do because I've never been to a lot of out of state events, to be honest. The only ones I have been to is Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. So the Midwest.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and
You have to
Michigan
come to
is
Humboldt sometime. We got some great ones.
absolutely. I got so many friends out there that I'm jealous because I can't make it out there. Budget restraining, obviously, and the economics of things right now. But
Mhm.
I do plan to make it there someday. And, Mindo's offered me a room. Nat over at Humboldt Seeds offered me a room. I mean, a couple of these other guys that you probably know quite well
Yes,
up in
we're
that
all
area.
friends. We all work together. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Huckleberry Hill Farms and all them guys. And,
John is amazing.
absolutely. And he was the first to offer me a place to stay. And, I want to come up there and kind of just drive and see the redwoods and all that. But it's a bucket list. That was literally on my list before my grandfather passed. We had the whole trip planned out. And honestly, I'm scared to travel that far by myself. And I don't fly. So I'm a driver. That's what I do for a living. So I have
Oh,
no
good.
problem driving. It's just the point of getting out there in an area where you don't know anybody, and if you break down, you got to be prepared. And I got to make sure I cover my T's and
Got your
or
eyes?
cross my T's and dot my I's. Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go. And
I got a little
bloodshot your
something.
eyes. Cross your
Yep,
T's and bloodshot your eyes. There you go.
yep, yep. And
That's
no,
fantastic.
it is Blaz. It is also done on IG for the first members, but you're more than welcome to come across on the Discord. That is where it's going to be moved after the first year. It just makes it easier. We run it through Patreon, and they control who stays an active member and who doesn't. And 100% of the funds are going to go back into the show. I'm not looking to get rich. I'm looking to upgrade and bring you guys the best content possible.
Yeah, excellent. Good job. All these entrepreneurial moves in this new era. It's just amazing how much everything's changed in 25 years. You know, there's so many pictures I wish I would have had the bravery to take. And then so many that I wish that, you know, the cops didn't take when they raided us. And like, yeah, it's wild to just see how much we can be so open now and talk about all these things with so little fear, with so many years. You know, that's one of the reasons I vibe with John Casale is him having gone down. You know, my partner was in federal pen as well for several years, and I, you know, I'm not ashamed to say that I ran. And so, like, you know, a couple of us got caught, and I didn't. And so I have a large property and a steep slope, and I know the off-grid wilderness pretty good. And so I was able to leave the country and wait for things to calm down. But when I see everybody, such as John, that had, like myself, have gone through federal persecution and then came back and is now like flagshipping legacy and those that endured prohibition as an advocate and a player and a hustler and just making it into the recreational move and then pushing it into mainstream. It just blows my freaking mind how much shit has changed and how far we have to go. We have so far to go. We're still in our
Oh,
infancy.
absolutely.
In our
Yep.
infancy, we're like little baby economy compared to what is about to pop off in a worldwide way. It's blowing my mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I am proud, on an international standpoint of what Germany's got going. And I'm not saying it just to speak on their behalf, but German engineering is, at least in automobiles, has always been impressive. So to see what they can do with this market finally,
Um,
I'm curious.
I if I can take up a moment of time, I'll have to say that I strongly disagree. Um, I absolutely love German automotive. I love VW. I drive an Audi to this day. I've always owned European cars. But to tell you the truth, you know, Munich, Germany is the very base and where Bayer Pharmaceutical exists. Bayer
Okay.
Pharmaceuticals is someplace that I've overviewed. I've gone there physically to do the walkthrough on the gardens through COVID. We got removed and scheduled and everything. And
Uh,
this is the if you look back at the history of prohibition and worldwide negation, like originally a lot of the worldwide treaty aspects and things were very much abducted because they signed into the treaty after World War II that no country was allowed to work with hemp or cannabis for fear of
wow.
being in persecution or in violation of that world treaty. In other words, getting bombed by America if you fucking do anything with weed. And so we have something so far as Japan and all these Asian countries that, you know, to this day, there's places in Indonesia, Dominican, Africa where you can get beheaded for having anything to do with it because that stigma was ingrained so heavily into these countries after World War. And the original patents had patents that hemp and cannabis as a commodity of war because it was used in making the canvases, the oils, like so much of the heavy artillery, army, clothing, military tents and things like that, as well as ship sails, ship lapping, roping, and things like that. And so it was already bought and paid for, and that oligarchy was ran during that time frame. You have to remember between the 20s and the 50s, and those areas, all the people that was already the original 13 families had the money, and they were able to start, you know, start it because they're the corn farmers, they're the masons, they're the ones that built the fucking bank, so they own the
Right.
bank. And so they can make the rules on what the bank did because they're the ones that originated the whole damn thing. They're the inventors. And so when I look at Germany now and looking at the way, okay, they've pacified the public by allowing 6 plants to be grown at home, which is awesome that you would be smart enough to pacify the public with that. But at the same time, I believe that it's a lot of data collection going on from the public in consumerism way, so that in a sense, when they're able to really capture data mine IG, data mine YouTube, using all the AI to data mine everything now to be able to basically capture all this information that we've given to each other freely to be able to synthesize it straight, create syncans, which are synthetic cannabinoids, and be able to reschedule, not deschedule, therefore making it a more encompassing punishment with higher minimum mandatory sentencing, but have it look like a Trojan fucking horse, where they're like, no, it's going to be all good. We'll give you like one or two dispensaries. You can grow 6 plants. But over here, we're going to create synthesization and just totally shut everybody down. And the one or two legal places that you have going on, we're going to use their taxation money to persecute the people that are small farming and out of compliance. And that out of compliance then goes into a monopolization that again sets goals for global pharmaceutical. We don't know it. We hand all the information to them. And I believe that the more that Munich and Germany has to do with it, just because their oligarchy is so firmly in place, when it has to do, because the gas companies and the oil companies are owned by the same constituents that own big pharma. They're all the same investors. They're just broken up into many different businesses. So when that international trade war happens, the story is much deeper than we can see just on Weed World, or like there's no one entity that knows the whole story, and I certainly don't. But I pay
Right.
attention to the entities that are creating these new corporations, or how Hawthorne was bought by Scott's Miracle Garden Grow, and Scott's Miracle is owned by Monsanto, because those chains of command, they affect our community and our culture and our planet, as well as our entrepreneurial movements. And I think it's really in our interest to pay attention to what Germany is doing right now, because I think they're in bed with the American government in order to create the descheduling that will allow big pharma to create synthesization that will again allow them to reschedule, not deschedule, and then take the power out of the farmer's hand that we've fought for 25 to 35 to 45 years prior to my existence. So that to me is a lot of people say, oh, that's the doomsday thing. And I'm like, no, this is just a logical, rational, big business of oligarchy. They give two fucks about a
Yep.
smoking weed. They don't give
Right.
two fucks about anybody, IG, like, like they don't care.
No.
I mean, and
Right.
it's in their benefit for us to be high and completely ignoring the fact that they can completely govern world commerce with our needs, by
Yep.
pandering to the needs of consumers. And so it's a lot, and I could go down that rabbit hole for far too long.
Oh, don't worry. I deal with this on a daily basis, that conversation, because in Michigan it's like on the platter all the time. I mean, we're always going to the Capitol and fighting for our advocacy rights here in the state, because they honestly want to take them away. They
Right.
want it to where you just walk into a place and you buy it, but they grew it. They did everything. You don't know where it came from. Nothing. It's just in a pretty box. You grab it, you scan it, and you're on your way. Just like
Yeah.
medicine or anything else. And it's ridiculous, I mean, just recently, a friend of mine, I won't put the person's name under the bus, but they are an author too. They have um, a greenhouse, I'm assuming, and they're cultivating under the THCA bill, the
Yeah.
farm bill.
The
And
hemp loophole.
whatever, yeah, I don't know a lot about it, to be honest with you. I'm being frankly honest. But I get this package of seeds, and I open it up, and he's like, there's something else in there for you. Now, I'm come from a town where my graduating class was only 64 people by the time we got to graduate. And
Right.
one blinking light. Like, I live under a rock compared to most people, and very Amish, very Masonite, very Mormon town.
I had
And
that influence in my childhood as well. That's interesting.
yep, yep. And well, long story short, I opened the box and I got a bag of freaking cannabis sitting in front of me, and I'm like, this went through the mail. So I'm calling him. I'm like, how'd you do this? Like, and he's like telling me about the bill and stuff. So I smoke it, and I'm thinking, cool. It smelled good. It did. I'll give it that. And that's
I've
about as
seen
far.
some beautiful hemp flower, and you have to remember that all cannabis is cannabis sativa. There's cannabis sativa, different varietals, meaning the indica, ruderalis, or sativa specific epithet. They all just have different levels of different cannabinoids. And so
Yep.
currently, they do not have laws covering the 124 different cannabinoids. Our laws are based around the Delta 9. So they're not allowing the research and development of different things because of the fact that there's a precursor chemical, and that's what THCA is, tetrahydrocannabinolic acid. And that cannabinolic acid is actually able, when you oxidize it or put light to it, flame, it bursts and becomes bioavailable to us and gets us high just as Delta 9 would, because it basically, on a chemical level, becomes Delta 9 or Delta 8 constituent. And so this is about the chain reaction of cannabinoids, how one goes to another, such as Delta 9 products, such as we have here behind us. If you were to degrade it over 4 to 6 months, that degraded product would become more dominant in CBN and CBG, because bioavailable has to degrade a little bit before those become bioavailable. And the CBN, through degradation and exposure to the elements, becomes the CBG and CBN aspect. So it's interesting how all that works, but now we have cultivars that have less than 0.3% of THC Delta 9. And so, because it has that compliant of the Delta 9 number, it falls into the loophole of being legal hemp, even though that when it's oxidized, it still gets too hot. So it's made it so that there's a lot of, rush to create policies that command more cannabinoids more so than plant. And for me right now, I'm really working on separating the nomenclature. As we do in society and culture, we talk about, cannabis indica, cannabis sativa, and cannabis ruderalis as being very separate and distinct plants. But uh, officially, under the nomenclature or the Latin, all cannabis is cannabis sativa hemp. And so
Okay.
right now I'm really working on the push of getting researchers, genomists, doing genomic mapping to really separate out and identify those parts that create, an autoflower tendency or sativa tendencies or indica tendencies or anthocyanin bearing by those genomic maps. And then we can better separate them and identify which cannabinoids belong most dominantly with a hybrid that is indica dominant. And we can identify that, that the the gas is going to belong to kind of the more sativa strains, and the chems are going to belong, and then the sweets are going to be more along the lines of like the goos and the papayas and stuff like that. And we're going to be able to break down the cannabinoids and the terpenes, match them up with those dominant genomic cultivars, and really be able to go to the International Taxonomic Society and start asking for a pathway in the next 4 to 5 years, hopefully, in separating out that binomial nomenclature for more linear understanding for botanists and growers, and to better identify that, the characteristics, because Latin sativa only means cultivated. It doesn't mean anything else. It just means cultivated.
Okay.
And so, an indica means from India, and ruderalis means wild. And so those don't necessarily define our common things now. And Latin nomenclature is supposed to describe the characteristics of growing. So I want to, go more into, okay, this one is, fatter leaves, and, and genomically we know that it's more, you know, indica dominant. So therefore, we can expect certain traits that, or certain growth
Right.
characteristics or patterns to come from one that is indica dominant. So presently we can't do that because there is no separation in binomial nomenclature, or the Latin words that we call cannabis sativa, cannabis indica. So I've been working on that just to get more linear understanding, and also making people understand that, sativa and indica have nothing to do with the high. Just like that the whole game that we were just talking about with the THCV and THCVA, it has nothing to do with the high. It indica and sativa literally just is the growth characteristics. It means one's going to have a shorter leaf. It's more drought resistant. It's taller. It's a linear, spindlier. It has a little bit more fibrous vascular system. It desires one set of nutrients, while an indica is cold tolerant, lower to the ground. the total plant structure grows differently. The flower actually builds differently than a sativa. And so that's just going to help us just get a lot more understanding when we can separate and define things a little bit better, and then get dispensaries to understand that indica and sativa got nothing to do with it. We're really just talking about cannabinoids and our metabolics that are very personal interactions, such as
Right.
alcohol.
Definitely. Yeah. And, I think I spoiled myself with a lot of my own growing here because I smoked it, I consumed it, and it
Right.
literally, I don't know why, but it did nothing for me. It was like, I hate to put it in this perspective for me, but it was like smoking a cigarette. Like
Oh,
it didn't do anything for me. It was just like air and smoke. Like, I mean, I didn't get even the nicotine feel. I mean, what I'm saying by smoking a cigarette is like there was no high behind it for me. Like
okay.
I yeah, it didn't do nothing for me, and I was just like, and
So you
a
got some
couple
cannabis
other
that didn't get you high, huh?
yeah, and a couple of other guys here from Michigan and other podcasts that are friends of mine, they recently tried it too, and they said the same thing. I mean, it's great for people that want cannabis in areas that might not be able to grow it.
Right.
They can have it. It's great. You're going to get something off it. You are. But for people that are growing full organics and they're growing stuff that you could smell in your pocket across the room, I mean, it's not. It doesn't do it for us. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not. Like
It's
it
real.
just.
It's real. And a lot of
Mhm.
genetics are getting kind of washed out. And then a lot of salt grown, I can see kind of genetically alters things a little bit to where it is, it's almost like a pampered plant where it wants more. Like, give me more, light, give me more nutrients. Yeah, dump me more salt, give me more sugar, to make like this fat, crystally bud. But it really, such as with our food, it really dilutes the quality of the actual product. I have the same problem. I can smoke anybody under the table. And unfortunately, going towards organic extracts, I've been making cold water hash for over 20 years and I really enjoy
Nice.
the extracts. But there is a lot of problems with, the dilution. And also, I think the processes, people's curing tends to like not really kind of keep that, punch and of holding that high and those terpenes and that good quality there. So hopefully we get a chance to really educate the public in general so that we can all kind of hone in our skills at home and make some killer products that actually can get you stoned. You have to excuse me, we got some quads rolling up
Hey,
and
that's
some
all right. I got I got roughly 5 questions for you. We call these last questions. I call them quickfire questions, and they're
brilliant.
just about you and a person as a person. What was your favorite strain to grow so far in the history of your growing?
I am a goo girl. I have been growing and mutating AFGUI, which is the North Stand 1 high yield AFGU, on my property at 45 feet elevation. The 4,500 foot elevation really allows for like a really strong anthocyanin basis, a really low squat plant that can tolerate a lot of cold. I've managed to get it in bud all the way down to 36 degrees and to be able to sustain those flowers and very, very cold. And so growing them in igloos, I became just really partial to it. And even though I work in hot climates the last 8 years, I still have my goo. And it's something that I carried around even when I got raided. All I had when I was running from the cops was a little, a solo cup with one little goo clone in it. And I
Wow.
rebirthed that thing and it brought me like everything I needed for the next, it's been 10 years since the last federal raid, 9 years, excuse me. So it's something that I really covet and I love very, very, very much. And then my second one would probably be we have this beautiful cultivar down in St. Croix called Caribbean Crush. And it's just freaking amazing. It definitely wouldn't like it up here in the cold areas, but down there on the island, it just tastes like the soda like a tropical
Wow.
soda. Like it's really good.
Definitely, I can imagine. And the next question is, what is one essential tool when it comes to growing? It can be anything that you can't live without with.
CropTops, shameless plug. No, I'm just kidding. What I can't live without is, I mean, water. Is that an
Definitely.
answer?
That's a good answer. Definitely. Yeah. Yep. And then my next question is quite simple too. If you could describe your journey with cannabis so far in one word, what word would that be?
Well, I'm kind of torn between turbulent and tragic. I can't really decide right now, but it's been really turbulent. It has been crazy to go through this process of since 1999, like being like holding a clipboard up in front of a store asking for people to sign it to pass Proposition 215, which was our first medical laws. And I was just a kid. I was literally just
Wow.
a teenager. I was 18. I was just like a homeless kid that was hustling weed, and I just like believed in the movement, and it perpetuated like another 30 years, like an entire lifetime of cannabis. So yeah, it's pretty mind blowing now. That just took me off into a whole like do do do. Wow.
Well, the final question will probably really do that then. But here's the rule. There's a rule to the final question. We ask
Okay.
all our guys this question. And the rule is you can't think about the answer. So the first thought that pops in your head, blurt it
Okay.
out.
I
That's
say
what
really
made
erratic
organic.
things just to warn you. I can shibby your pink elephant all over the place.
All right. So if you could smoke with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I can smoke with anybody dead or alive. Would it be Jane Goodall?
I don't know who that is, but I'm
But
listening.
Jane Goodall was she worked with gorillas. You can see a documentary on her called Gorillas in the Mist, and she was a woman that really fought for humanitarian rights in Africa, the Congo, all over the world, and fought for a lot of beautiful, almost extinct animals that really needed a voice. Working to do a lot of research, and specifically with the gorilla population, helping with the genome mapping project and things like that. And she was a brilliant woman, and I admire her advocacy and hard work and her place in history as a woman that's really been dedicated to earth science and just in general the advocacy of humanity and the planet. That's a
Absolutely,
good
man.
question, though. Good one. I don't
That,
think anyone's
that's a
asked me that one yet. I like it.
That's a good answer too, because that man, you educated me. Now I got to go check it out, and I might end up getting sucked in. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV in probably 12
I've
years.
never even owned a television.
I got two, and they've never been plugged in the whole time I've owned my house. Prior to me living here, I was homeless. So yeah, I don't know. I bought one on a Black Friday deal because I needed a TV in the house, and I decided I didn't want to use electricity, so I unplugged it after I plugged it in once and turned it on.
Decided, oh, that wasn't worth it, huh?
That was it. Yeah, it was literally. I was just like, oh, okay. I'd rather use the grow light and use that electricity than use the electricity for the TV. So I guess that's me. But that brings
They're
me to my
different.
final. Definitely, that brings me to my final question with you, and that is, what is going on with you in the near future? Where can people connect with you? And is there anything we missed?
There's lots of things. I'm getting ready to launch my first kids book that I finished about 2 years ago, and I did a kids book with a really beautiful artist named Ed Cameo. He is just now getting out of Venezuela war zone. We connected
Wow.
through traveling, and he lives on this little small island with his wife. And so he helped me do the illustrating after I did all the sketching, and I wrote a book about sustainability and integrating hemp back into society, into our gardens, and recycling. And it's kind of rhythmic, like Dr. Seuss kind of thing going on. And I have a lot of fun writing. So I also write for, Weed World, Grow Magazine, Cannabis Now, all these, most often Weed World every month. So I really enjoy doing the research in the garden with the different genetics from, as people have mentioned here, I work with Rare Breed, Canna Country. I have genetics from so many people that we're doing the research on now for the university, for the people. And I have the Caribbean Cannabis Project where I'm gaining all of the aspects and awareness from the Northern Hemisphere, California, Humboldt, all the way to Ontario. Different genetics are donated as well as products such as Snapfan or Smart Pots or things like that, and bringing them down to the island to help the people there learn how to grow. And sometimes it's really difficult because you're on a giant fucking volcano or something. So it gets, it's real different. So I love helping people. I am the owner, as I said, of Indica Innovations International. You can see my portfolio on LinkedIn at AC Moon Cameron. And I'm pretty heavily certified, such as CGMP and FDA and OSHA and HACCP and Omri and Master Grower certified and all the things. And I plan on continuing helping people consult. And after winning a couple of awards for International Business Innovator in 2020 and 2021, I was able to connect to some pretty big avenues where I think advocacy needs to continue to be heard, where we can translate the legacy voice. Beautiful farms such as this. This is Humboldt Forest Farms, right
Wow.
here in Dinsmore, California, owned by our friend Justin Collins. And these people have worked their asses off, to continue being legal farms. And when we all work together, we're really able to connect all the dots globally. Us talking right now connects those dots. And I really have a passion for the entrepreneurship and the integration consciously, and how we together as an American culture, not just as a California culture, as a Humboldt culture, but now, Michigan and California, how we affect the world. And so hopefully we can continue inventing and creating infusions and all these things and build my brands back up, and get these career courses and cannabis courses launched at the university. If we can get that fought from the feds, freedom of education, let us teach, let us learn. And continuing that, I'm writing a book right now on adapting cannabis, worldwide cultivars and genomic mutations, and collecting
Wow.
cultivars and mutants such as Freak Show and some other ones in order to do genomic mapping. So that
Yeah.
hopefully will have something to do with Cal Legacy and have Budtown Comics, which I created a 3D imagery show with cannabis characters that I grew, and that's a humor based, kind of like South Park. So hopefully
Okay.
we'll be launched with Citizen Green TV. Just looking for funding and backing to continue producing that show and getting it on the new network, and then creating probably a world cannabis travel show that really targets legacy farmers and so many
Uh,
other fucking things, as well as we just popped 10,000, plants, and we're going for it. So there isn't a, yes, Duckfoot 2, Blazing AZ420. I'm guessing you're Arizona, and you should totally hit me up on IG if you need any help.
Definitely, he's an AZ. He's a member of the society, a great guy. And I think you should get in touch with Khalifa Genetics if you haven't already, because
Absolutely.
they I've got so many rare mutation seeds that I still got to get in the garden. I'm
Yeah.
talking leaf. I think he called it separation or segregation. I don't know what he called
Right.
it, but he
It's
had
like,
a name for it.
yes.
Yeah, and one side was white, one side was green. He's got ones that turn pink. All
Yes.
kinds of cool things.
I love
Like
the deep cultivars. They're some of my favorite. I really enjoy those. Those are a lot of fun.
definitely, definitely. And I appreciate you coming on this show. I appreciate you dropping all the knowledge. You're welcome back at any time. If you
Thanks
got
for
something
having
going,
me.
yeah, yeah. And you really do. I think I have a new picture of who you are now, and I'm
I
gonna
hope
say,
so. I have
I'm
a new
gonna
picture
say,
of you too, sir.
I'm gonna say you're the female, but don't take offense. Female version in the cannabis industry. You are the Gary V of the cannabis industry.
Oh, well,
You
I hope that's positive for you.
It is. He is one of my mentor people that I look up to when it comes to business. I'm a business nerd, and I love anything to do with marketing. That's my thing. And he literally puts it out there. He doesn't candy coat it, and he's educational. Yet he's so knowledgeable because he has so many years of experience. And like I
Yes.
said, that's just how you are.
Well,
And,
thank you. I'm honored, and I'll have to say hello to him and say that we got compared here.
yeah, and he's an author too, and he did a children's style book. It's got characters and stuff. So when you said that, he clicked in my head because he came up with something similar. He called it V Friends, VEE Friends. You can
Oh, that's
find,
awesome.
yeah, you can find it on Amazon and everything. He's a wine guru and all that. He's from New Jersey, and guy is like phenomenal. They say he's the #1 marketing guy
He,
in the
he
United
does have a
States.
mouthpiece on him and knows how to use it. That's for goodness sakes. Yes, that's so
Yeah,
awesome, though. You
definitely.
gotta I
So,
love that entrepreneurial spirit. It's very driving and inspirational.
yep, definitely. So, with that being said, like I said, you're welcome back anytime. Thanks for coming on. I'm going to end it here, and you guys have a great weekend, everybody. And if you can't stay lit, stay organically blunt. Thank
And
you.
thanks so much for having me. If anybody has any questions or any need for me, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm here for everybody. And my first half-hour consultation with people is free. I'll help you to overlook innovations or ideas, infusions, give you tips or help you deal with pest management problems or build giant businesses that are multi-million dollars. I'm here for my community and culture. And thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we keep it tight. Growing with the best. Keeping it right. Shout out to the partners helping us grow. From the soil to the light, yeah, you already know. Grow bags keep it fresh, just put it in the bag. Seeds, man, got the seeds, never running a lag. No community without you and I. Drop a like, hit subscribe, let's vibe real high. Sandlight, LED, make the garden shine. Grassroots beds, keep the roots in line. Humboldt got the turfs, fast buds coming fast. Atlas seeds outdoor, built to last. Stay organically blunt, keep the vibes real. One love, one plant, yeah, you know the deal. Stay organically blunt, keep the vibes real.